Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 5 work. This is the last week of the class. So, what I've been doing is kind of, I did it this week too, but I was late getting this working as I had a problem with my software, so I apologize. But for your discussion, you're playing a role. You're going to pretend that you are appointed as a new manager, and you're going to you're going to think about the previous manager and how they were using transactional leadership. So what you want to do is think about, okay, from that approach, how would you lead differently? And pick a certain approach or style, and there's many to choose from that you can research, and talk about why you would choose that leadership style. And then you're going to also consider a situation where an experienced executive assistant discovered that she made the same amount of money as a newly hired janitor. Consider the role of the human resources department plays in driving organizational performance, and what HR strategies would you employ to address this? So, these kind of situations happen. It really doesn't. Do the best you can with the information given. Honestly, there's not a lot of specifics there. What does it mean? She is the janitor. A he, is that an issue? Just kind of go with. It doesn't really say. It doesn't say if the newly hired janitor is a male or female. So anyway, just consider how this could happen, and how would you remedy it, or would you? That's what you want to talk about there. To keep people motivated in a tough economic environment, the company have shifted to semi-annual bonuses from annual bonuses. So the stance here is you're going to take is, do you think that was a good idea? If you don't, why? What are the pros and cons? What are the problems that could occur? Maybe you would prefer an alternative, and if you did, what would you use instead of a semi-annual bonus, and why? Minimum of 500 to 600 words. Make sure you're following these guidelines that you see here. That's important, because I do look at that. I'm not sitting there counting words, but the reason that they have that is to, prevent someone from thinking they could get an A with, a paragraph of information with like one sentence addressing each scenario. That's really what that's all about. Okay, moving on to your assignment. This is a big paper. It's a big paper. It's a report. Here's the expanded rubric. If you click on it, you will see, hold on, sorry, I'm going to have to go download that thing and pull it up. Hold on a second. Well, I'm going to get this out of the way. I think I've gotten stuck here on something else. Okay. I apologize. Okay, oof. I have this Mac, and it's just slow as a molasses right now. Okay. So here's your grading rubric for your paper. As you can see here, it needs to be 5 to 6 pages. That does not include the title page, does not include the reference page at the end. So make sure you're not including that in the paper count. The first thing I'm going to look for is, are you applying 8 to 10 concepts from this paper? So I'm going to look at your paper. I'm going to look at, kind of compare it to the things mentioned in the textbook. I can get this paper. I got to get some of these other documents out of here. That's what I'm going to be looking at. Okay, I'm going to scroll here. As far as you can see here that this is the column you want to look at when you're doing your paper, and I'm looking for whether or not you're relating concepts well from the class to the in the textbook to the case here. You're still working with your company. You're imagining you're a management consultant. You have been hired by the company you chose at the beginning of the session, Nucor, Walgreens, or BP, whatever. Lots of Walgreens in this class. So that was a very popular choice this term. You want to analyze their communications and leadership. So you've been asked to submit a final report to the executive team with your findings, including the following. So you want a description of the company's communication structure, if and ways that culture has influenced that structure. Let me just make this clear. If in your previous paper you did not specifically address the internal communication and the structure of how they communicate within the company, you need to go back and do that research now. Number 2, a discussion of the barriers to communication that may arise when leading diverse teams. You've talked about teams on the discussion board. You need to, and also in that paper, I don't mind if you go back to that and kind of expand on it. What I'm looking for is you to add to what you've already written, not just regurgitate what you've already written. So when you spoke about the teams in your organization, you're going to need to do some more research and add on to that. Talk about diversity as well. I want to see a well-organized paper use what you've already written as a base and then expand on it. This is a 250-point paper. And I'm going to be I don't want to see what you've already written again. Number 3, an analysis of the various leadership styles and different types of leaders. So you're going to be looking at, so what you're going to be doing research on what kind of leadership styles are employed at the organization that you have been using this whole term. This is a very heavy research-based class. What I'm seeing overall are students giving me lots of vague, generic information, and that's not going to work in this class. You need to do the research. Number 4, an assessment of the level of trust in the organization and make recommendations for improvement. What you're going to look for there is and it kind of goes back to culture. Let's just kind of go back down to this rubric here. I'm going to pull up the expanded one again. Wait a minute. Actually, I'm going to go over the recommendations for motivating the workforce that are clearly based on motivational theory. So you're going to need to make sure to refer to your text on motivational theory, and also feel free, to do any research on that as well. It's outside of your book. Now I'm going to go back to the rubric, okay? So we've talked about the main assignment. That way this makes more sense. That's why I'm doing it. So for the second part, we talked about the first part already, but description of communication structure is clear, concise, accurate, and well supported. Includes strong commentary regarding the influence of culture on the current structure. demonstrates exceptional critical thinking, connecting relevant course concepts with real-life business management. Connect course concepts with the scenario. That's what I'm looking for. Description of barriers is clear, concise, well supported, and offers suggestions for overcoming the barriers. What are the communication barriers in that organization? How can they be overcome? Analysis of the different leadership styles and types. We already, I'll give you an example. You could use it, I guess, but don't just say what I just told you. I mean, if I was going to do it, I'd probably approach it from the transactional is already there. I'd probably go with transformational. That's what I did my dissertation on, so I'd probably talk about that, which is has various components in it of, empathy, encouragement, support, caring about the well-being and goals, career development. It's a different one than just transactional, which is, I'll do this for you, do this for me. This is a mutually beneficial relationship. So there's lots of different ways. There's servant. There's another example, but you'll be reading about these types this week. So kind of think about your own personality and your own style, approach. Do you think that you would kind of fit best with your personality, and use that and talk about it. Tell me why you chose that type of leadership style. Remember, you're playing a role of a leader here that is taking over from a previous person, and you will bring your own new approach to it. So, moving on, analysis. Okay, we already just did that. Analysis of different leadership styles. Yeah. So basically, I want you to, and then this is kind of the one, and I think it's a little confusing. That's why I went ahead and went to this rubric and wanted to discuss this, because remember, you're coming into an organization, and you may be coming into one that has a high level of trust or a low level of trust. Look up what's going on in that organization at this point. You could use it as you could look up news about, I don't know, Walgreens or BP or whatever. BP, if you were taking a management position right now at BP, what do you think the level of trust there would be? Consider though, that's kind of, I mean, and there might not be a glaring issue with, some kind of disaster like that. What about Walgreens? Well, what's going on there? What's their culture like? Think there's a lot of trust there? Look up some research, environment there. See, sometimes you can find articles about organizations where people will write, it's the best place. Is it the best place to work, for example? Well, I mean, that might be a big signal to you right there of there's probably a lot of trust there. So just, I'm just trying to give you some points there to start from, as far as how do I find this information, so. Theory-based recommendations for motivating the workforce. That should be pretty clear-cut. There's lots of different motivational theories. You will be reading about them. You can research them. You will be able to find and apply one that you would use if you were in charge of a workforce that needed to produce results. So, And then, of course, the writing components. Please use APA style. Please make sure that you're using the resources in the class for formatting your papers. This is a written paper. It's not a presentation. So that's really it. It's a 5 to 6 page paper with 8 to 10 key concepts from the course and the text, and mixed. They overlap anyway, so. Alright, that's really all there is to it. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'll be happy to assist you. And just make sure that you are, doing the research needed. This class is very heavy research. I know it has a component to it because you have to find information on these companies. Takes a lot of, it takes some time to do, so. Alright, so like I said, any questions or concerns throughout the week regarding this paper, let me know. Make sure that you have looked at your grades, and if you have any late work to submit, I can take it under that late policy. But everything must be in the classroom by Wednesday. And cannot take anything after that. If it's not in the classroom, it doesn't get graded, and you get graded with what's in there. And that's a school policy. So, it has to be in the classroom Wednesday night. So, it's been a great term. I really enjoy teaching this class. It is one of my favorites to teach. So, if you have any problems, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you, and let's have a great last week. Thanks, and have a good evening.